Hey guys, I just got back from an expedition to a nasty, dank, dirty, dark basement in Chicago. The only light I had to go by was a little LED flashlight I brought with me. Here is what I spent so much time digging out. What was in the basement was a set that had sat down there for probably 50 plus years. And it's quite filthy. It's a huge combo set from Admiral from 1948, what they called Triple Play or Triple Thrill. Yeah, Triple Thrill. It would have been nice to take the whole thing, but huge, heavy, and to be honest, it wasn't in the greatest shape. So the seller had actually been trying to sell it for quite some time on eBay and Craigslist, and it was time for some major demolition in the basement. This building was built in about 1880. And it was undergoing major renovations, and the whole basement had to be cleared out. The seller I bought this from had recently bought the property, and he said the previous owner had been there since '67, but I suspect this set had been down there much longer. At any rate, I scavenged every last bit that I could that seemed valuable. The best prize is this, which is an Admiral 30A1S chassis, which is the same as 3 of my other Admiral sets, which are going to be undergoing restoration very soon. So I got the entire main chassis and picture tube, don't know if it's good yet, and the lower power supply audio amp chassis. And this was a combo set, so it had a radio, and I took the radio bezel and the radio itself and the speaker, which turned out to be in immaculate condition aside from all the dirt, and I grabbed all the knobs. Funny thing is, the seller claimed that the set would turn on and the radio would work. However, as you can probably see, there's a slight problem. All the glass tubes are gone. There's just 2 metal tubes left here, 1 metal tube left here, and virtually nothing left. There's probably 1 tube up here because the guy couldn't reach it. So obviously this thing didn't work. I suspect somebody went in and plucked all the glass tubes, maybe to throw against the wall to hear them pop. Maybe somebody thought they had value and tried to sell them. I have no idea, but they're long gone. Also grabbed the grill cloth, which is in pretty decent shape. Really hard to find vintage TV grill cloth. There goes the chopper overhead. I think, it's hard to tell the color out here in the garage, but I think this is the same color as my 24 C16. And that one's really faded, so I'll have to compare them side by side and go with whichever one's in better condition. Also got this little piece of safety glass out of the set, so for all this, all these big chassis and tubes and iron, all you get was this one little screen on it. Oh, nuts. Is it a chip? Oh, no, it's just a piece of glass from something else. Alright. So I don't know if any of my pieces of safety glass have any chips or scrapes, but I figured, hey, I had my opportunity, so I grabbed it. Alright, so bit by bit I'm going to start bringing this stuff inside and cleaning it off and take a better look and see exactly what I got. If nothing else, hope the picture tube is good and I got a set of knobs. By the time I finished salvaging what I could out of that basement, I was absolutely filthy, so the first thing I did when I got home was jump right into the shower. Now I've got some time to actually take a look at what I picked up. I left most of it in the car because what I really want to focus on is this TV chassis. It's a 30A1S. I'd like to get a 30A1 someday, which has channel 1. The S indicates a later style tuner. It looks to be in pretty good shape and all complete from what I can see. The seller claims he tried to plug it in and turn it on and some stuff lit up, and I think he even implied the radio worked, but there's one glaring problem with both the radio chassis and the TV chassis. Almost all the tubes are gone. All I see are 2 tubes left in this. We got one here and one over here. Where the rest went, no idea. At least I left the tube shields behind. This would be the wideband RF amp, probably a 6AG5, right off the antenna input. And this would be a 6J6 oscillator mixer. This is a little strange though. It's a lead shield, quite heavy. I've seen this on RCA sets, but I don't think I've seen it on an Admiral set before. This was to reduce microphonic effects on the 6J6 tube. I'll just leave that over here for now. Alright, so three main things I care about. Picture tube, of course, and what's underneath this chassis, and what's inside here. So, as I said, this looks to be all complete up top. Let's see. Well, the base is not loose. That's a nice change. So many picture tubes I've gotten recently, the picture tube base has been very loose. Dual trap, or dual magnet ion trap here. The blue always goes towards the front. Then we have the huge focus magnet, and then the yoke looks to be in fine condition. So as filthy as this basement was and as dirty as this is, there's no rust on it. This was a place built in 1880, and it wasn't, or I should say the foundation was like, I think just like field stone cemented together, but I guess it must have been on high ground and this stayed quite dry. Let's see. I'll have to take some screws off to get this pulled out. It does have the original power cord and looks to be in decent enough shape to actually reuse. It's probably natural rubber and it is not hardened, so it's still flexible. Yeah, I'm going to flip this on its side and let's see what's underneath. Well, this actually looks to be in pretty good condition. I only so far see signs of one repair, and that's down here. This power resistor's been replaced. This one maybe too. And maybe this guy. I think they originally used those sand-coated power resistors, which are so crappy and prone to failure. The rest looks to be pretty much all original though. All the old original paper caps, resistors. Oh, this might be a newer one. Yeah, it's probably a replacement. Otherwise, they're all these wax paper caps. Alright, might have got a winner here. If you recall, I picked up a 30A14, I think it was, a while ago, that has the huge bug-eye magnifier on the front of that. And the chassis in that one's pretty chewed up, especially the tuner, because it's been replaced at some point with one that I don't think was a stock Admiral, so that might be where this chassis is destined for, to go into that 30A14 set. All the controls look to be original. This one's especially hard to find. Combination wire wound focus control, volume rheostat, and power switch. No way you can find a modern reproduction for this. You've got to try to find a new old stock one, or pull one out of another old set. Alright, next up I will pull the shield off this flyback and let's check that picture tube. There should be about 8 screws holding this cover on, but I only found one. That's pretty typical for a set that's been serviced a few times. The decals are in nice shape. Danger high voltage. Width should be pointing right to this hole, but it's off a little bit. More danger high voltage. All service should be performed by Admiral authorized service personnel only. I'll try to find one of those these days. Let's see what we got inside here. Huh. Even the 1V3 high voltage rectifier is gone, but they left behind what I think is a damper tube. Looks like an original Admiral too. Let's see what they were using back then. 5V4, okay. Later Admirals all used a 6W4, but this uses a 5V4. It's probably the original one from the set. That's an early style for this too. Flyback, well, it's got a fuse on it, so that's a good sign there. So hopefully that fuse would have protected it if something was going wrong. That was probably a 6BG6 horizontal output tube that would have sat there. And the 1B3 high voltage rectifier. Doorknob capacitor to filter the high voltage. Probably 500 picofarads rated for about 15 or 20,000 volts. And this big old, probably a 20 watt power resistor that was there to control the load going through the flyback. I really hope this is still good. From what I can see, nothing looks horribly fried or melted or missing inside of here. Pulled out my Suncor CR70, I'll get that hooked up and let's see if this picture tube's any good. I used a damp cloth to clean off the CRT a little bit. Now I can see it's an RCA, so probably not the original. Don't see any other markings, but I assume it's a 10BP4, so I went ahead and hooked up my Suncor CR70 using the 10BP4 settings. So here we go. And yes, we have a filament glow. And I don't see any crazy blue or purple glow, which would indicate that it's gassy, so things are looking good so far. Let's see. Supposed to set the filament so it's on that little red mark there. So I gotta go up a little bit more. Alright, there. Now we'll check for HK shorts. Good. G1 shorts. Good. Cut off. Supposed to rotate this control and get the needle in the black box, and I can already see the needles moving up, which means the CRT is slowly warming up and coming back to life. Let's see if I rotate this. Yes, we have grid control. So they're all very, very good signs. And emissions. Whoa. That's really, really good for one of these old 10BP4s. Some of my other old Admiral sets, the emissions are way down, like at the red-green boundary when I first turned them on. This thing's only been on for like, what, 60 seconds for the first time, maybe 50 plus years, and we're already well into the good range, above 12, and it's still slowly climbing. So I'll let this sit a little bit longer, but I can already tell this is a really, really good picture tube. It's been about 15 minutes and the emissions haven't really gone up any, but they're still very, very good. Now I want to check the life test. For a weak tube or a tube that's kind of worn out, when you push this button, the needle will start dropping. For a tube that's really, really fresh, it will stay rock steady or just drop a little bit. So let's see what happens. Pushing it right now. Yeah, that's a really, really fresh picture tube. It's dropping, but just barely. This might be the best picture tube I've ever pulled out of a real vintage old set. So I suspect that this picture tube is a replacement later in this set's life, and it didn't see a whole lot of life or a whole lot of use after it was replaced. So this was worth the money just for this picture tube for sure. Alright, well that is it for tonight. Tomorrow I'm going to pull out the rest of the stuff I picked up and let's go through that too.